Good morning. I'd like to call this meeting to order for the Blackhawk County Board of Supervisors regular session for May 26, 2026. Roll call, please, Mr. James.
Grant?
Here.
Hall?
Here.
Kurtenbach?
Here.
Schwartz? Whalen?
Here. Thank you. Would everyone please join us today for a moment of silence to reflect on our actions? Thank you. Would you please join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 1 is the agenda received as proposed or amended, and I would like to ask if the board, that's the request of the board, if we could amend the agenda to move item G, which is the hearing, let's see, for the Ike, I believe it's the Ike hearing, yes, item G, the continuation of the rezone. If we could move that under other business and be the first hearing, if that's all right.
So moved as amended. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Consent is received. Item 2, public comments. Is there anyone in the audience today that would like to speak on something that is not on today's agenda? Anyone online? Okay, moving on to claims and payments. This is a resolution that the Board of Supervisors approve expenditures and that the county auditor be authorized and directed to issue payments against the various settlement of such claims as allowed.
So moved. Second.
Ms. Weed.
Good morning, Board. Our total bill payment today is $4,145,239.76. And that is probably the largest one we have in a year, and that's because we're making our annual bond principal payments plus 6 months interest. That total is $3,668,050. And out of that, what comes out of the county budget is only 48% of that. The rest is from solid waste and E911. So that's the largest thing. We pull that out, our regular total is only $477,000, which is about average. And the only other larger things, we are paying ASPRO for parking lot at the conservation building paving, $92,958,081, and the Hickory Hills Sunset Shelter replacement, we're paying Great Southern Recreation $48,718.51. We're making another payment to Urban Services for the ARP pump panel replacement, $23,917.52, and we have about 6 or 7 of those left to finish. And then the 60/40 fund, we are making a payment today of $3,388.59. Everything appears to be in order.
I've got one question here. Central Iowa Juvenile Detention, there were 2 juvenile inmate holdings out there, and one was billed at $8,400 for 3 days in total, and then the other one was billed for $7,560 for 26 days. I'm just making sure that was accurate.
Which page are you on?
You know, you would ask that, wouldn't you, Michelle?
They are numbered.
Yeah, it's in the sheriff fund, I just don't know which one's my.
Under what?
Sheriff's, I
They're both
think it's on
under the
page
sheriff.
2.
Maybe the sheriff can enlighten us with the number
Page
of
3,
days.
page 3.
So going with 7,500 for 3 days? That's gotta be more like 30 days.
8,400 from April 1st through April 3rd for Deering.
I'll have to follow up on that. I mean, there's no way we're paying $2,500 a day for it.
Right.
They gouge us pretty badly, but not quite that badly.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's why I think it's 300 and some a day, right, for non-member counties,
I
it's
think
something like
it's $250 a day, cause it comes out to $7,500 a month typically.
that. Okay. but we know it's not 2,500 a day.
No,
So,
no, I'm gonna guess that's a typo on the dates on it, but I
Okay.
can follow up on it.
alright, that's all I had.
Okay.
That was on page 2.
Just, oh, you got Michelle, and she was still looking kind of good, make sure.
Pages are all out of order. Yeah, that, I think that's supposed to say maybe April 30th for Deering, we'll figure that out.
That,
Yeah,
all right to accept?
thank you.
Okay. All right. Mr. Resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Grant,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item 4, receive project updates from department heads and elected officials.
Good morning, Board. Kathy Nicholas, engineer. Just a routine update. Our ASPRO is still continuing to pave on Donald Street from Sage Road over to Raymond Road. And also in that vicinity, we're actually working with John Deere. They are testing some of their new tractors. They're coming right off production and they are driving on North Elk Run Road up to Dunkerton Road, and we do have signing. Our message boards are out to alert the public that this is going on. There's 1 or 2 tractors a day, so we've been working with them closely to make sure there's no huge impacts to traffic, and that seems to be going well. Otherwise, we're doing routine mowing, blading, and also hauling rock now for the re-rocking of our gravel road system. Can I answer any questions at this time? Thank you.
Thanks, Ed.
Any other reports? Anyone online that would like to update us?
I did want to update you on something, sorry, I was emailing AP about that invoice. Another, with the Washburn sewer system, they have found a pump station that they need to make repairs to. Cost is estimated to be somewhere between $2,300 and $2,500, so hopefully that will get done soon.
So we're really just updating us, so that he's going to go ahead with that.
Yes.
Thank you. Anyone else online that maybe wants to make a report? No. Thank you. Item number 5, minutes approved for May 19, 2026.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Those same sign, minutes are approved.
Just a quick follow-up, and then if I can jump in, Deanna just texted me, she wasn't in it, she heard it, that invoice is through the 30th, she apparently entered it wrong, so
Alright.
it was a 30-day.
Awesome. Thanks, Deanna.
Great, yeah, thanks, that was quick. We have 3 hearings later today, the 2026 budget amendment, the continuation of rezone ordinance number 77-307 Nathan Ike from A to AL, and a bid opening of the seal coating project for 27. Item number 7 is the consent agenda. The following items are acted upon by a single resolution unless someone wishes to discuss an item.
So moved.
Second.
There are no items to discuss. Roll call vote. Please answer your name is called.
Hall,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Leyland.
Item number 8, contracts and agreements. Resolution to approve the 28E contractual agreement between Blackhawk County and the City of Raymond in the amount of $31,562.11 to provide law enforcement services effective July 1, 2026 through June 30, 2027, and to direct the chair and sheriff to sign for same as recommended by Nathan Neff, sheriff.
So moved.
Second.
Right, if you remember last year when I talked about this, our contract agreement's probably about half of what it really should be. Last year we were too late to up it at all. This year I talked about doing a 10% increase. The board suggested I go higher. So this is a 20% increase over what we've been paying. And I've warned them that it's probably gonna be in that range for the years to come, just to kind of get us caught back up. But I don't feel right going at them to double our contract right out of the gate. So 20% bump, which it's about what, $5,000 raise, give or take, which probably hurts their budget more than it helps ours anyway, so, but yeah.
Appreciate their effort and yours, so thank you. Any questions?
Yeah, just, could you remind me, because I know you touched on this last time, but like how much coverage does that offer them on average?
We give them, it's about 3 hours a day, so it's about 40 hours a week on that, or no, 20-some hours a week, I'm sorry.
Pretty good deal.
Basically, each shift has to spend about an hour out there, so a lot of times we'll break it up with 3 cars working, it'll each take 20+ minutes or so, give or take.
Okay. Excellent, thanks, sir.
Questions? This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item B, resolution to approve the contract for opioid funding with NAPCare Inc. to provide medication-assisted treatment program services to jail inmates diagnosed with opioid use disorder for the period through June 30, 2027, in the amount of $293,414.93, funded with opioid settlement funds, and for the chair to sign the same as submitted by Michelle Wiedner, Finance Director.
So moved.
Second.
This is just a, the sheriff's office applied for a grant for services for inmates, and this is just one piece of that, a big piece. Pathways is already providing counseling, so all 3 of these next items all relate to that.
Any questions?
Is there a way that any of our other vendors or other existing relationships could cover these services other than NAFCare?
It's basically gonna be, well, as of right now, whoever's doing our medical provider is pretty much gonna have to do it. So obviously, this amendment's only good as long as our contract with NAFCare, so if we do whatever switch in the future, basically that would have to be worked in the RFP really, that this would be on there. And, out of fairness to that company, they would have to know that it's contingent upon the bed funding or the opioid settlement funds, so yeah, go to RFP, it'll be a trickier little piece at the end, because they're gonna have to bid on it knowing that those may not be full-time positions if the funding runs out, so.
This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item C, resolution to approve amendment number 2 to the service contract with NAFCare Inc. to provide medication-assisted program services to jail inmates diagnosed with opioid use disorder for the period through June 30, 2027, in the amount not to exceed $293,414.93, funded with opioid settlement funds, and for the chair to sign the same as submitted by Michelle Wiedner, Finance Director.
So moved.
Second.
And this piece is, they had wanted to get us amendment that more specifically outlined what they would do and that sort of thing, so that's what the purpose of this amendment is.
So was there an number 1 amendment?
Yes, that was to change some staffing, Nate might
Yeah,
remember.
that one goes back ways, that was where we kind of gave them the option of if they didn't have a full-time physician that could come in, then we would do even more hours with the PA. And there was another similar one, I think it was if we didn't have a full-time psych nurse practitioner, then they would make up with that with a different counselor, and again, give us more hours to kind of balance it out.
I was assuming there was a 1, but I couldn't remember it.
Thank you. It's been a while.
It was unrelated to this project, but yes, there was one. And it was about a year ago probably we did that, so.
Thank you. This is a resolution. If there are no other questions, please answer as your name is called.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item D, resolution to approve the contract with the Blackhawk County Sheriff's Office to provide facilities, certain social work services, custody services, bus passes, and gas cards for reentry support and smart TV for use by the MODE program to inmates with opioid use disorder in the amount of $10,500 for the period through June 30, 2027, funded with opioid settlement funds, and for the chair to sign the same as submitted by Michelle Wiedner, Finance Director.
So moved.
Second.
So this is a relatively small piece of that program, but it fills in parts that really are not the responsibility of either NAVCare or Pathway, so the sheriff's office handling it directly. The smart TV is for group counseling classes. We maybe should have described it as a computer monitor, because that's really how it's being used.
So noted for minutes.
What was that?
So noted for the minutes,
Yes.
wasn't sure, thank you. Group classes. This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Hall.
Yes.
Kurttenbach.
Yes.
Schwartz.
Yes.
Grant.
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes.
I just want to thank the board for the support on this. This is a huge project for us. My social worker Jess probably brought this to me 5 years ago when I was still running the jail. She has worked her butt off on this, kind of been a dream, a vision for her. So she's really been the driving force, one that pushed us through, the one that wrote the application for the opioid grants. She has poured a lot of her heart and soul into it, so I want to give her a shout out and thank the board for signing off on it.
Please thank her for all of us. Item 9, other business, and we'll move to the continuation of the rezone ordinance number 77-307 hearing for Nathan Ike. Obviously, this was a recess that we've done before and we're continuing on, but we'll probably conduct it much the same because I think you were not able to attend and we also have the public to think about it. So a motion to reopen the hearing recessed on May 12, 2026.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Next item is a motion to close the hearing as oral and written comments were received and placed on file. And I will emphasize, I guess, since it's not noted here, this is a request submitted by Nathan Ike to rezone 12.86 acres of land from A Agricultural District to AL Agricultural Limited District to allow for a private landing strip located at 6410 North Butler Road. Were there any written comments? Tim,
No written comments.
thank you.
Morning Board, Joseph Gallman, planning staff. Just really quick, just wanted to know the applicant is here as well as the property owner to speak, answer any questions you may have. After the last meeting, I did receive a call from the neighbor just to the property to the north of this. They had stated that they were not opposed to the request. They were curious as to whether a culvert would be placed. There's I think a small water channel here. They were wondering if a culvert would be placed there to still allow the water to flow under the runway. But other than that question that they had, they were not opposed to the request and we're fine with the runway going there, so.
Would you recap just a little bit, I guess, I think, since, like I said, we were missing
Yeah.
some board members and the public probably.
Yeah, so this is a request to allow for a private landing strip. The landing strip right now covers the whole length of the two parcels, which is more than what is needed for a landing strip to allow them flexibility and safety. Per the zoning ordinance requirements, it'll be a grass landing strip, just used for a private landing strip. The Planning and Zoning Commission did recommend approval unanimously. There were a couple property owners that did come to the Planning and Zoning meeting. I know at least one of them was property just to the west. They had some concerns about property values. Right now that land is in used for pheasants forever habitat. So they had some concerns about that as well. But after talking with the applicant, they had stated that they no longer had those concerns and were fine with that landing strip going there.
So I spoke with Jim, was it Bozier? Okay, the property, okay, Jim is here. Yeah, a couple days ago over the phone, 4 days ago over the phone, then spoke with Nathan last night about 9:30, so thanks for taking my call. And then I obviously went out there 2 weeks ago to get eyes on it and met with Jerry and David. Did a little tour of the property. So rather than hear it from me, I guess I would open it back up in case anybody had anything to say. Either way.
Oh, I think, like I said, all of them can speak today, so, yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's what you're thinking
Yeah.
too, everybody that's here, yes. Go, name and address, please.
Okay, Nathan Ike, and I currently live 7925 Moline Road in Waterloo. Ladies and gentlemen, supervisors, neighbors, my name is Nathan Ike, I'm the applicant. I'm a lifetime Iowa resident, born and raised on a dairy farm in Bremer County. I've been a Blackhawk County property owner and resident for the past decade. I apologize for my absence at the last meeting. As you may be able to see, my wife is holding her excuse. Nevertheless, thank you for this opportunity to speak to you regarding the rezoning of about 13 acres to a private landing strip. I recognize that our absence likely created some uncertainty, and when there are unanswered questions, it's natural to fill in the blanks with fears or assumptions on what this proposal could become. I completely understand that, and I hope today we can bring some clarity directly from us. First, I'd like to address some of the concerns raised in the last public discussion. I think noise is the biggest concern, and I'd agree noise can negatively impact life. At most commercial airports, there's jets and other high power and high frequency aircraft operations that I wouldn't want either. When compared to the aircraft we operate, it makes those operations seem like a semi compared to our toy car. The plane we plan to operate, a two-seater RV-8A, is a 180 horsepower. It's 180 horsepower, nearly 10 times less than a crop duster and 100 times less than each engine on the ERJ-175 jet that flies out of Waterloo twice daily. Our planes and most GA or general aviation aircraft, they're the same category and they're similar noise levels as farm equipment on takeoff, except that takeoffs are generally for a shorter duration. During a short takeoff, the time to climb to 500 feet above the ground is approximately 30 seconds, and at landing, they're nearly silent. Most pilots like to think of themselves as great pilots, and I, of course, like to include myself in that category. Great pilots conduct noise abatement procedures naturally, like reducing engine power soon after takeoff, turning to avoid houses, and conducting low power precision landings. Another component to noise is frequency of operations. I've been a pilot for 13 years, and historically our family has flown a couple of times per year. I think a reasonable expectation for this utilization is for an average of 2 times per month, not flight training, not high power aircraft. I appreciate the discussion on wildlife. In my 2,500 hours of flying, I've had one bird strike. It was at 4,000 feet above the ground at 4 a.m. I didn't know birds flew then or there. In all seriousness, we take notable precautions when it comes to low altitude operations. During landing, we take extra care to observe birds and flocks. While it's rare to need to take avoiding action, we're at way lower speeds and are able to maneuver unlike larger passenger aircraft. The U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service also conducts low altitude annual waterfowl surveys and migratory bird counts from small planes like ours, and the impact of those has been demonstrated to be insignificant. If the birds were scared of airplanes, they surely wouldn't be hanging around larger airports like Waterloo, but unfortunately for those bigger, more expensive aircraft, the birds don't seem to care. When considering other wildlife, we've chosen an area on the property that doesn't disturb wetlands and preserves the natural character of the land. It's a strip that's maximum distance from residences and requires minimal smoothing and disturbance. Answering the question to the north about the culvert, I think that's about as large of a disturbance as we would, and there is a little channel that is not continuously flowing with water that would properly drain to the north and continue like it currently is. There's currently numerous 8-foot fences throughout the property, and that minimizes wildlife movement. We plan to repurpose and open up that fencing to allow wildlife to roam more freely in the non-runway area while protecting the runway area from our plane. Speaking of safety, don't take my word for it. Forums, AOPA, the Aircraft Owners and Pilots Association, Flying Magazine, and Pilot Discussions, they frequently describe a 2,000 to 2,200 foot runway as normal, a good practical length for private grass strips. Here we've proposed about 2,800 feet for additional safety. Although private landing strips aren't shown to significantly increase or decrease property values, we believe that our usage of this property, not dividing it up, is preserving and increasing the value of the surrounding properties. A few points should be raised about the advantages and reasons we see value in having this private landing strip here. Air care medevac flights need a clear area to land. Where better than a landing strip? Do you or your family have frequent visits to Iowa City or Mayo Clinic? It's a 30-minute flight. Want to take a hunting trip out west? Packing hunting rifles is a breeze. Have you ever been concerned about a wind farm being built in your backyard? Existing aviation infrastructure, like private landing strips, are certainly considered when choosing turbine locations. I could go on, but I want to thank the neighbors and board members who have discussed their concerns and allowed us to respond. We understand that people choose rural living because they value the peace, quiet, open space, wildlife, and stability. These are the same reasons we are choosing to move ourselves. None of us want to see the land heavily developed, crowded, or divided. We want to preserve the nature, open fields, and quiet character that already exists there. We've shared our contact information and provided all parties here an opportunity to see the important details and how we have nothing to hide. We're happy to make accommodations here and work with anyone should future concerns arise. In support of this discussion, we've operated our plane recently directly over the property and around it this holiday weekend. If anyone here has any concerns of the noise, we'd be happy if you'd speak on what you heard. Thank you for your time and consideration today. We're committed to being good neighbors and respectfully ask for your support in approving this rezoning so that we can preserve the open and rural character of this community that we all value. Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Oh, please.
So, good morning, I'm David Ackerson. I live directly east of the runway. A couple of things that I just heard him say was it would not disturb wildlife as much, like waterfowl, but the runway comes right over the waterfowl pond area down there. And I'd like to thank Mr. Brandt for coming out and taking a look at it, taking some pictures and stuff. And so I have a couple of things. We did see their plane fly over last night. We took a few videos of it because we wanted to see how loud it was or whatever. It is actually pretty loud. I don't know if we put it up on the screen, but you can hear that going over our house. And it went over 3, maybe 4 times last night. So we didn't like the noise. So one other thing is, I had never met the family, the Ikes. They did call me and wanted to meet with me, but that was after the meeting. And I had just told them I wasn't interested in meeting at that time. As we were on the phone, I was talking to him about some concerns and stuff, and then he passed the phone off to his wife, and she was telling me how loud the plane was, and in her perspective and stuff. After I told her I wasn't interested in meeting, and I wasn't going to change my mind on this project, she told me even if the runway does not pass, they still potentially would buy the property. And also she said that they would lot it out. So we'd have more neighbors. So I don't know, maybe not familiar with Blackhawk County, but you don't just lot out farm ground in Blackhawk County. So over the past probably 15 years, I've probably seen 10 houses go up on our mile section. And not one of those houses was built on farm ground or usable ground. They're all built within trees. For example, there's one northeast of us by Finchford Penda that's on a gravel road. It's 20 acres of evergreens, and there's probably 8 houses in there now. There's nothing on our road that has been developed. I believe there's one on the south road that was built in trees, and one was rezoned by Mr. Bozier to have a house there, but nothing was ever done. I kind of felt like that was a threat, saying that they would lot it out if we didn't pass the airstrip. Maybe it wasn't, but that's how we took it my wife and I. I just don't, I still have the same feelings on it. I'm against with the waterfall and, you know, the money and time we've spent down there over the last 25 years. Just us, not only 2 generations before us that did work down there too, to try to make it what it is today. When Mr. Brandt, when I took him down to show him this, as soon as we got down there, we saw deer. He takes a picture of that. A little further, we saw a turkey. Then we saw pheasants. Then we saw 2 nesting sandhill cranes. That I think he has pictures of all that too. So I mean, it's just like a, what'd you call it? It was like a preserve.
Yeah, it almost felt like a little nature preserve out there.
Yeah. And I think the noise and I don't know how much pollution, you know, an airplane gives off. Maybe not a lot, but basically, I still feel the same. I'm against it. So, any questions?
No, not for me. I spoke with you guys already.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I'm Shelby Ike. I'm Ethan Ike's wife. Sorry, I don't have notes. I apologize, Chris. On the phone, I did not intend to sound like a threat. I actually, instead of this property being subdivided, we ended up purchasing another piece, or we're planning to purchase the southern portion as well down here. That is rezoned. It just hasn't been platted yet for residential properties. So we're trying to keep it all together so that there is no subdividing at all, and we're buying the entire portion of what Jim has there currently, so that we don't have to have any more buildings or neighbors. In addition, there's 3 more buildings on this property, and our RV airplane fits in one of those, so we wouldn't be adding any hangars or any buildings or any more infrastructure in order to house our airplanes. And then in regards to pollution, I know that's a big concern of mine, especially with jet fuel. It has lead in it, and that's not great to breathe in. Our airplanes take the same gasoline that you put in your car, so it's kind of like a flying car. It's a 2-seater, so the front pilot sits right behind, or right in front, and then the passenger sits right behind it. So it's a very compact, small aircraft. And I'm trying to remember if there's anything else that I needed to say. The ground is currently in CRP just north by your lake, and it is our plan to keep it in that for the next 6 years, I believe. I'm not sure exactly what that is, so we wouldn't be touching that because our runway is longer than it needs to be. We would avoid taking off over your pond, and usually the wind comes out of the west, so we would typically be taking off into the other property over the open field, and landing, we would have the engines off. So obviously we didn't land yesterday, but as far as that, and that's all I have. Thank you.
I was gonna say, or I was gonna say, or if you want to answer.
If I may, just for a moment, I also participated in the call. I didn't feel that we leveled any threats, and I think that's a totally inappropriate way of characterizing it and for us to act. I think the alternative to us not purchasing the property, it's been shown, Jim has tried to be accommodating to many buyers, and we thank him. Part of that is if the house on its own section sells on its own and the property owners don't want to purchase the remaining property, it's quite likely that it would be divided up at that time into multiple flats, multiple plots, and thus multiple neighbors coming up. So that's not our plan for it at all. Thank you.
Yes, anyone would like to use this, yeah.
My name is Jim Bosher. I live at 6410 North Butler. I just want to clarify a little bit about the different houses that could possibly be built in there. So we do have 2 lots that have been rezoned. I think they're each about 3/4 of an acre. I don't remember. They're whatever a little bit over the the minimum and a little bit under the maximum. So if we really wanted to, we could put in 2 homes in there, and then the remaining land, after the house is sold, could be divided up into 3 more building, 35-acre lots each one. So technically, I guess if we wanted to, we could put 5 houses out there. That's not my intent. I don't want to do that, but if push comes to shove, I guess that's probably where it would go. So, thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else that would like to comment or address questions or whatever, you can say, or have questions? Anyone else has questions, additional than what we've had before? You know, Rich, you mentioned something about the seller at the last meeting. I was gonna say, when the seller wasn't here, did you get those questions addressed, or?
Yeah, I spoke both with Jim and Nate, and several of my concerns right off the bat wasn't the property owner doing that was cleared up, and the reason why. Nate explained that, and Jim in depth on that. One of the other concerns was the power lines that go through there. Again, the concern is would the plane hit the power lines, and then they get the reliability of the power to everybody else in the neighbors in that area. So, again, with the discussion, I feel that concern I had was also resolved. I think there was one other issue that I had brought up, and that was resolved in the conversations as well. One of the thoughts I had was, we have this airstrip that's being proposed. I know we have several private airstrips in Blackhawk County, so this wouldn't be like it's the first one. I guess that's one of the thoughts was, noise, we've had other areas. Wildlife is in that area, western side of our western part of our county is known for its wildlife and stuff in that area. But we also have a lot of vehicle traffic going through there as well, so I'm back and forth on that issue as well as far as noise concerns. My bigger concern, again, in helping residents of Blackhawk County dealing with the eminent domain threat that's going on, if we're gonna protect our landowners from outside interests like that, they also have the right to do what they wanna do with their property in their property. So, I guess I have some concerns there. If someone's wanting to buy an acreage and their 3 kids all of a sudden want to have dirt bikes, and you got 2 motorcycles going all around there, there isn't nothing to stop that. There's no public hearing for them to do that. So, again, an aircraft going in and out maybe once or twice a week is still way less than any other things that could be happening there in that property. So, again, I'm feeling support for the homeowner's request.
I know you weren't able to attend before, but you have any?
Yeah, I just have a quick question on, from Nathan, or for Nathan, on the, so, with this strip, is there something that's not being met? Some need is not being met with the existing private strips available throughout the county?
That's a good question. I don't believe there's any properties for sale that fit the same size that we're looking for that are based on those private strips. Those private strips are already owned, and there's either they're filled with other tenants at those strips, notably like Washburn, or they are neighbored by prime agricultural land, and something that we wouldn't want to disturb by putting up a property there. So I think this fits the bill the best. Does that answer your question?
Yeah. Nate, you may know this. How many private airstrips do we have just in Blackhawk County? Are you aware?
I believe there's 4, if I'm not mistaken. Washburn, and I think, Isley Field, and there may be, I think there's two more, sorry? Yeah, one in Hudson, and I think there's one that was recently closed that might be up by Janesville, just in Bremer County. So yeah, there's several that I'm aware of.
The one thing I was gonna add into it, one thing Nathan said is regarding the power lines and the length of the strip, but what, 2,500 feet? Is that what you're?
Yeah, 2,800 is what's been proposed.
Okay.
Yeah.
And when you say, so notes I took last time,
Yeah.
is takes off in less than 1,000 feet.
So I looked at the performance specs to have those handy. The maximum weight is kind of the worst case condition for an aircraft. In this case, it's 1,600 pounds. With it loaded to its maximum, its takeoff distance is published at 600 feet. The rate of climb is 1,100 feet per minute, meaning that first 30 seconds is going to be well up and above, even with a shorter runway length, to be able to clear trees and power lines. Should anything happen with an engine issue, there's ample alternatives, landing either direction, landing just over top of the trees, or continuing just straight on into a soft area. So safety is definitely important to us, and we've taken strong considerations of that.
Thanks for adding that.
Thank you.
I have nothing else.
Alright, so I just want to close the hearing if they have anything. Alright, and making sure that no one in the audience has anything more. Okay, please.
I just wanted to ask the question, you mentioned the dirt bikes, Marty Rolling, I live on Mark Road. We would be the ones right to the south. Once this airstrip is in place, is there anything to keep it from being used by lots of people? Are we going to have hangars there? And I just think once you open the door, like you said, there's no controlling what happens on the property then. So, also, are there not airstrips nearby? I mean, we've got Waverly, we've got Waterloo Airport. I would assume we want to support the airports that are in place. So, just throwing that out.
Yeah, that's a great question. So in regards to airports, yes, there's Waterloo and Waverly. The hangars there, I can't remember the exact cost, but it's about a mortgage payment per month to store them there for us to have it at our current property. And we have a big family, and being able to wash the airplanes, they're full of bugs all the time, and being able to do that with our kids is really important to us. So that's kind of our big benefit of having it at our own property. Sorry, I'm blanking on what else. Oh, and then as far as like other birds as well, our flight yesterday, I went up with Nathan for the first time in that plane in over a year, and we saw a whole flock of birds at the Waterloo Airport. And then we went to the Washburn Airport as well, which is another private strip, and did a low pass, and there was another flock of birds there, and we didn't see any on our property, but birds are very well in and around us, and it's super easy for my husband to see them and bypass them, and they don't want to be hit with their. Sorry, I'll let you speak.
And speaking to the Waterloo and Waverly Airport, those are excellent options. We have a business that operates many aircraft out of there, and they are definitely more appropriate for commercial operations. For the private operations, obviously, it's way less impactful and way less frequent. We do send a substantial amount of our business to the Waverly Airport for the maintenance up there. They have an excellent maintenance shop. And for Waterloo, last time I checked, the hangar space, and this is a concern around the nation, the hangar space at Waterloo is pretty limited. And so this kind of alleviates that to a degree as well, especially for a small airplane taking up an entire hangar for what a larger aircraft could be stored there instead. I hope that helps.
She did bring up a question. Joseph, I'd like to
Yeah.
ask you a question. As far as additional buildings, if they were to build another hangar or another building there, let's go back to P and Z as well, as far as building permit.
It wouldn't have to go back to planning and zoning commission. We'd have to make sure it meets all the requirements. But they wouldn't have to get a site plan approval to put up the building, I believe. I would have to double check to make sure, since we haven't had to deal with, an airplane hangar or something like that, as far as I'm aware of, in the past 20 or 30 years, so.
Okay. Could we add conditions to the rezone?
Yeah, so you could add conditions to the rezone.
At least requesting that it come back. I was gonna
First
say,
time.
on your thoughts, I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, I mean, the only other thing I would have to look into is if it was a larger hangar for the aircraft, whether that would also have to be in the AL zoning area. That is the only other thing I would have to look at to see if that would need to be done before they could build a new building, specifically for that.
Yeah. Excellent question. I think the entire express purpose of the landing strip is purely as a landing strip. The reason for the width is just for the runway safety area, at which we would not want to have any buildings in there. I think you can see there's an existing building right on the north end of that. That's about as close as we would get to it, and we don't want buildings nearby because, that's a safety concern. Hard objects are no good there. We would be in support of a contingency or a restriction there that no additional buildings go up in that vicinity for sure. And that's also the existing infrastructure, as Shelby said, the existing buildings are able to fit the one aircraft that we plan on basing there. So no other modifications, no other erections of buildings, very limited impact.
Yeah, it's just quite narrow, so I was gonna say as far as buildings, but if you did put them, close.
So that goes back to Joseph then, do we need to do anything as far as adding that to the zoning request?
Adding,
Restriction on construction of any additional buildings, namely a hangar.
Aircraft.
yeah, so if you want to, you can add a condition that I believe it would be fine to add a condition that they can't build a dedicated aircraft hangar. I don't see a problem with that.
My understanding is that the board can attach conditions to its
We have before.
and so I don't think that needs to go back to planning and zoning.
Okay.
That process.
Well, I would add that to it.
And is that, I was gonna say acceptable too, I was gonna say before we add, because that is something you don't wanna add.
I think for the agricultural limited area, I think that would be appropriate. We'd be in support of that tied to that specific area. I wouldn't want any confusion happening anywhere else. So I think, but tying it to that proposal, to that section of land we would be in support of that. Yeah, thank you.
And you were asking then for it just to come back to go back to the P and Z or?
No, we can
Just
make
that
the condition, Mike says we can put the condition on our
No, we
approval.
can put the condition, I mean, as that though, if it goes back to P and Z, but they're saying it to not to restrict it from not having additional, or just that it goes back to P and Z if they do.
No, we can put the condition on it ourselves here, we don't have to go back.
No, I know, yeah.
A site plan amendment or a full restriction? No buildings, or if you wanna do a building, then you have to go back to
P&Z.
the, which one are you proposing?
Yeah, it's one of the other, I mean, if
Gotta go back.
you would like it to go back to P and Z, and then it's up to them.
My final question, I guess the board's gonna vote, is if that were your home, meaning Jerry and my home, would you want an airstrip right behind it? I'm just gonna ask you that. We've lived there since 2002, and this is something new. So, if you would just think about it.
Mr. Dozier.
I'm sorry, oh, yes, Jen, did you want to say something?
Jim Bosher again. I just wanted to clear up a little bit of information about the wetlands. I know last meeting, Chris Schwartz had a comment and some concerns about the wetlands, that there's been a lot of work done to preserve those wetlands, which I greatly appreciate. I also own probably the equal number of acres of wetlands just to the north of where the ones in question are. And I've lived there for about 23 years. I've never touched those wetlands. To me, wetlands are exactly that. They're there for a reason. So I've never went in there and done anything in those wetlands and don't intend to. So just wanted to clear that up.
Any other comments, questions, anything to resolve before we close the hearing? I think we took the motion in second, we just need to vote.
No,
We did
I'll
not.
make the motion to close the hearing.
Thank you.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. The item 4 is a resolution to suspend the rules requiring the Board of Supervisors to consider and vote on the proposed ordinance in 2 prior meetings.
So moved.
Second.
Please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item 6, ordinance adoption. The ordinance amending ordinance number 36 as amended, the Blackhawk County, Iowa Agricultural Preservation Zoning Ordinance adopted February 2nd, 1999 by adding subsection number 307 to section 6, the rezoning certain property as described on the above request submitted by Ethan Ike, and to consider the same for adoption, and if adopted, would be known as ordinance number 77-307. And this is clear, make sure I'm clear on this, with the condition added that in the ag limited area would be required to go back to the P&Z commission. If
Site plan?
site plan, if other additional buildings were considered.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
No.
Grant,
Well, they made a compelling argument, I'm gonna go no.
Hall,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you all for your patience and for coming today to express your concern and interest. Moving on to item at 10:53, the hearing for fiscal year 26 budget amendment. There's a motion to receive and place on file the proof of publication of notice in the public hearing for the fiscal year 2026 budget amendment as published in the Courier and the Hudson Herald Thursday, May 14th.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Pose same sign. Item 2, hold the hearing, request for oral or written comments. I believe that's your show.
I was gonna say, I think we have lots of citizen comments, right? No.
Yeah.
Al, do you wanna?
While we get that set, would you mind a quick
break?
little
No,
break?
go right ahead.
Sorry, looking through all the pages, I'm like.
Done by the time they get back.
Yeah, Michelle will finish it, yeah, I was gonna say. Run through the slides quick.
Want me to share it right now?
Yeah, I think you can.
Sure.
They beat me. I'm just gonna go sneak up.
Yeah, next time you'll want to. I didn't say 10, just too bad, but it's like, okay, just we'll do another one for the closed session. So there's more opportunity.
Yeah.
Now you guys, for now, you'll be managing yourself.
We have our own.
Yeah, all people that work for you are yourself. That's transitioning for 3 or 4 years.
Well, active. What does the
Starting the trend.
He said, beat him to it. I said, surely we're not in the same place, but maybe.
Once the toe started tapping, I was like, there's a lot of pages on this.
Yeah, I thought, just take.
It was a tall coffee.
I told her.
Yeah, you go ahead and get us going, I'll catch up.
I'll join you.
Easy.
I think so.
Brutal.
But, and they all want doors that go in. It's like, so John here today. We're supposed to. Yeah, but yeah, just two.
Send over a forward over. Jim Moore. Thing that you try to work through. It's kind of 6 in 1. 6
I can.
It's hard to do.
I was looking at it like,
I don't know.
and then that's how
We should, yeah. He's not even here.
Just had another hour to our meeting.
Just
Come in, talk all you want, 3 minutes, open mic.
I just don't want anybody bringing up like one more, would it ask for one more thing?
You know, I haven't heard Stacy about this one.
There were some.
Say his favorite.
Yeah, I'd say it, I said it's normalized here.
No.
Not normalized. All right.
That's just. We even got more budget.
See if anybody moved. No, not hard. You know. I'm going for the
Axe throwing, right?
Just missed. Well, that was close.
Yeah, I know I get your attention. Okay, we'll get back in session here. I was gonna say, Michelle, you ready to start?
I am ready. So I'm hopefully, this is gonna be short and sweet, but we'll see. I know I've had questions about what's the purpose of a budget amendment, so I just threw a few things in here. We're required to do one under Iowa state law if we're going to exceed the total expenses by program, which we have a lot of things that roll up into each program. That's really why we do these, because different departments are doing different parts of it and they see something that might change. So, yeah, we have to do it by June 1st. Well, technically, you have to do it by June 1st. If you do it later than that and citizens protest it, it will be voided by the state. So the safest to just get it done by June 1st. And again, our departments, we ask them to go through and estimate their budgets and see if they, if there's a project or something that they need to do that's gonna be more than their original budget. I did not attempt to make every change, particularly ones that are reductions. I just don't tend to worry about reductions too much because our goal with this is just to make sure we don't exceed it. We aren't necessarily trying to true it up to what our actuals are gonna be, we're just trying to make sure we don't exceed the maximums. So, I guess that's not easy to read, is it? But I just put together some of the things by program. Most of these are in the general fund, that is where most of the concern that I have would be. The health department, as you know, they got a brand new grant with the Thrive Grant during '26, and those activities began. And they also had a few other grants that they received funding that wasn't initially anticipated. So they requested to increase revenue by $178,538. And the expenses that go along with that for '26 are slightly lower at $162,538. And that's because they're allowed to charge some existing administration costs to the grant, so in effect, they're kind of netting more revenue than expense. Transfers is one of the more tricky areas, I'll say. So I do try to make sure we've allowed enough for that. So I did budget for in case local option tax revenue comes in more than we estimated. And you'll notice later, I did not increase the actual revenue budget for local option. I only increased the transfers to allow if we need to, so that I make sure our transfers stay under the limit. I also budgeted to transfer the lagoon valve project that we initially thought would be done by June 30th of last year. When June came, if you remember, we had a lot of rain, so they couldn't finish it until July and August, so I'm clearing up that transfer. I also added $1 million transferring from the general fund to capital projects in the event that we choose to maybe do more of our capital projects using reserves. And again, you have to remember, all this work was done prior to the legislature adjourning, prior to us knowing what was really gonna be in the new property tax reform law. So I was just trying to make sure I was covering all the bases with that. Board activities, we had a few things we amended this year, and you'll remember as you think back over the year, we budgeted for some digital advertising for hiring. Most of that was paid for by human resources and by our larger departments, but there were some smaller departments that we felt it made more sense to just have the board try to cover those instead of figuring out which department was gonna have the vacancy at what time. We also approved marketing expenses for the branding project. There was funds left and we were gonna use that last summer, so that is part of this. Civil service, as you all know, we had a large case in '26, which is pretty unusual, but we budgeted to cover the lawyer fees and other expenses related to that. And the largest portion of that was postage. I am putting another $40,000, I think, estimated in the event we needed it for postage for this year. Those rates keep going up, and so while our volume isn't necessarily going up, it's costing more to do business there. Axon, that project, I had originally budgeted for '26. We didn't quite have all that contract finalized, I don't think, when I was working on the original portions of the '26 budget. So I had budgeted as capital expense, but it really should have been debt service, so I'm now budgeting it in debt service. And the last few things on here are just reallocating the '26 community services funding. I had budgeted for it all in physical health program. When we awarded it, there was $39,200 that should have been from the county environment and education program. So I'm just moving that into the correct program. And we also had one small payment of a 25 award that didn't get paid till '26, so I added that. Board activities, but other funds, not the general fund. I did reduce the budget for the potential bond issuance. When we did the FY '26 budget, I was estimating $5 million, and I know we won't go over 4, we may not even do that, but I brought it down to the 4, and also reduced the expenses in the same way. And I did budget for interest on the 2026 new bond issue. I budgeted enough for that from when that issue was sold in '25. And our facilities department, we did budget, we had several unanticipated repairs that we did this year. There were some things needed with Pinecrest HVAC system, and the jail chiller and a few other minor things that add up to that 34,563. And then we realized we hadn't budgeted for janitorial expense for the new Veterans Affairs building. And so we added 25,000 for that.
No, Michelle, just, cause I'm pretty sure, I remember we did now budget for FY 27 for that janitorial.
Yes, yep.
Okay, so it was just,
If you remember, the VA building, we moved in and opened it really started working there in about July of 25, which was, well after we had set the 26 budget. So we just didn't know. I had made estimates for utilities, we missed it on janitorial, so we're adding that. I did add a slide in here for the roads department. You don't really see it on the amendment forms because they moved funds between two activities that are both in the same category for them. So we reduced maintenance activities by 130,000, we increased equipment operations by 130,000 with no net bottom line effect. They do have to file a budget amendment with the DOT, and that's why I put this in here so you could see the changes. Even though they don't affect the ending of our budget, they will flow through to the DOT budget. Conservation, and this change is primarily in their donation funded budget. And also for a state grant they received, so total revenue increases of 70,000, and then they're budgeting for additional project expenses. The largest one would be the new amphitheater that will be outside Hartman. So we're budgeting 215,000 to use of their donated funds. I did throw in this summary that kind of breaks things out by fund. If you're interested in seeing that, I won't go through that because they're the same line items we just talked about. And I tried to put a slide in here of the form that this is the form that was published in the paper. It's also what it looks like to the state when they receive it, but I know it's impossible to read. If you want to look at that more, I have it in a separate PDF that's probably easier to read. And that's all I really have for that. Flip over to the budget amendment in case anyone has any questions. They should all be the same numbers we've already talked about. And I did also try to throw in, this is very abbreviated, but I tried to show you our fund performance through the end of March, only for operating funds, and you should have a separate document that kind of illustrates that. I know on this, it doesn't necessarily look positive in the general fund, but that's because no transfers have been made of employee benefits yet. I do think with vacancies and things, we'll see the general fund perform much better than expected. And the general supplemental will be the same, again, due to the vacant positions, we won't transfer as much out of that into general, so that means it does better than expected as well. Rural fund, there it is. Also anticipating that it will perform better than expected. Again, this is through the end of March, but I think the trends will likely continue in there. Secondary roads, much the same story, although it does, at the end of March, they were ahead of budget, but not as much as they planned to be. So whether that turns around by the end of June, I don't know. I don't expect, it won't go over budget, which is the concern now. Local option, much the same. So, that's really all I have. Any questions or?
Just the budget, no, we can talk, just about earlier, just a little bit that we used to always do 2 budget amendments, and now you said you prefer though the one seems to work and there's no need to really do it at this point.
No, if we had something large that was completely unanticipated in the original budget, perhaps we would need to do that. I've tried to budget more generously, particularly when it comes to capital, because that tends to be where you see more fluctuation. There's enough even though someone might start a project, let's say in October, and we didn't intend for that to happen, they still have 9 months of their operating expenses to cover, so we just haven't, we need to have a budget amendment done before the total program expenses are exceeded, so it just feels more efficient to me to just do it once a year unless we truly need it.
What would be the instances where we truly needed it at that second?
You know, that's a good question.
Oh, I just wondered.
I suppose if there were a really large FEMA disaster, maybe. Generally those, you can't even necessarily get it fast enough that you would be affected, but that would be possible. Or let's say somehow we were awarded a very large road construction project and we somehow did not know about it when we set the original budget. Usually those processes require enough runway that we know about them and would put them in the original budget, but it's always possible that, you know, something changed when, I don't know if it was ARPA or another program before that there was a mad scramble to get projects that were shovel ready and we needed to get them started, you know, what they called right away. That still took a while, but it would almost take something like that. Or actually a good one would be a bond issue, because if we sold bonds, let's say in July or June or August for something, and we hadn't budgeted for interest expense in particular, we might need to do that, because debt service is a very tight budget. You budget, the state pretty much only lets you budget exactly what payments you're gonna make on each bond issue. So if you add a new one, that could create a reason you would need to do it. And much as Thrive, the Public Health Board got the Thrive grant and they started operating, but there was enough flex, if you will, in their budget that they weren't going over the expenses. So that's why we didn't do an actual formal budget amendment hearing, publish in the paper, do all that for that grant, because we knew we could cover it. Now, that would be a good one right now with the changes at the state level. If that happened quickly, and we might need to do something there. It needs to be a large scale.
You do feel comfortable that we're gonna come in, I know you don't have a crystal ball, but that's only for the legislature, for finance. You have a crystal ball? It might be a little murky, it might be polished a little bit, but it's better than mine, I can tell you that. On the expense and the revenue side, you feel like we're gonna be on the right side through the year to cover this 541?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, there will be no problem, we'll have plenty.
Any questions for Michelle? Don't wanna close the hearing.
That's the motion.
I know, I just meant to, yeah, we haven't got that moved on. She's holding it right now, I was gonna say, but I didn't wanna move into that. Any
I didn't hold it.
We need a motion then to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Can I do all in favor? I don't have to do a resolution, right? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
One opposed. Thank you. Item 4, resolution that the fiscal year 2026 budget amendment be adopted.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution, please answer your name and call.
Grant,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item B, resolution that the finance director be directed to increase/decrease appropriations for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2026 to various operating budgets for various county departments and offices as submitted on the attached budget amendment summary.
So moved. Second. I do wanna ask, so when we approved in the hearing,
this is the action that we just approved?
So the hearing allows us to establish our authority under state law. As I understand it, the appropriations are what you do to authorize, particularly your elected official departments, to actually spend the resources.
Okay. I didn't quite understand why it's a second motion like that, but.
Okay. This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Hall,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item C, resolution that Amendment 1 to the Blackhawk County fiscal year 2026 secondary roads budget as included and approved May 26, 26 in the Blackhawk County budget amendment as agenda item 9A be approved and direct the chair to sign the same as recommended by Catherine Nicholas, County Engineer.
So moved.
Second.
Good morning again, Board. Kathy Nicholas. Just like Michelle said, the engineer's budget, there are certain oversights provided for in the Iowa code that need to be, seek your approval. And we are needing to move money from our road maintenance. It's all within our road maintenance fund, from road maintenance category to shop salaries, just due to the fact that we were without one of our diesel mechanics for about 3 or 4 months. So he moved over to the shop foreman position. And it took us a little bit of time to recover. Therefore, other employees were doing some of that work. So that's where we had to shift around some of our salaries. So I would ask for this approval so that we can submit this amendment to the DOT.
Any questions for Kathy?
No.
This is a resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Brant,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item D, resolution that the statement of completion and final acceptance of work for project L3032, bridge repairs in various locations throughout Blackhawk County be approved and direct the chair to sign for same and authorize and direct the auditor to make final payment in the amount of $69,721.06 with a total project cost of $314,991.90 as recommended by Catherine Nicholas, County Engineer. Project contracted at $255,013.65. Contractor Boulder Construction LLC, Grundy Center, Iowa.
So moved. Second.
Okay, good morning again, Board. As is customary, when we have a final acceptance of a road or bridge project, I like to show you some photos to see what we've done with the contract, with the money. So, first of all, I thought I'd show you give you a little bit of background about why we are needing to do these repairs. And because many of them can be categorized into it's the same type of work. And in 1987, the Iowa Department of Transportation came out with a new bridge standard, and it was a 3-span continuous concrete slab bridge in, like I said, the late 80s. So that design has been around for about 40 years now. And although I don't know if we built any in 1987, but we did start building them in the early 90s for sure in this county. And this is what they look like in the photo there. You can see they have the concrete barrier rail, and they are composed of that concrete slab, meaning there are no separate steel beams underneath supporting up the deck. It's all integrated into the deck. And what we're starting to see now, these bridges are about halfway through their life, and we're starting to see some deterioration on the deck, within the top of the deck, and also that underside of this edge. I talked to you before about this drip edge, some deterioration along there, so we're starting to see that, and that's very common in what you will see in the next few slides. So these 4 or 5 bridges, these were actual photos taken from our inspection reports in the 2022 to 2023 timeframe, so very recently. You can see that design we did not use green steel back at this time when these were built in this lower portion of the deck. So you're starting to see delamination of the concrete as that steel is absorbing water, or water is getting between the steel and the concrete, causing it to rust. Corrosion is beginning to form, and that concrete delaminates from the concrete delaminates off of the steel and it starts to crack and spall and it falls away from the bridge after about 30 or 40 years now. So that's primarily what we wanted to do, is repair some of these structures around the county that we're seeing that distress. It was awarded to Boulder in 2024. And the contract amount, this is different from what the agenda item said. And technically, we don't have, most of our projects do not have change orders. The $255,000 includes the approved change orders, so technically that is an approved contract amount. And you'll also see another amount at the very end when I show you the final amount. So these were local option sales tax funds. 100 days were specified to do the work, although each site had its own working days associated with it. And I'll talk a little bit more about that as we go through the slides. Liquidated damages were set at $1,000 per day, and then work did begin way back in October 16th of 2024. And like I said, work consisted of repairing that, some areas on the decks, the drip edge, the underside of that drip edge. We do have a few spots where the barrier rail was repaired, as well as some gutter repairs. We originally set it up to be 6 bridges throughout the county, and then we added Donald Street. I'll talk about that, and then we also added another bridge on Union Road in the S-curves. If you've been on Union Road, you know we have some series of curves before you get up to Skyline Drive or the Beaver Hills area. Those were 2 of the bridges. Geyser Road had 2 bridges, Eagle Road and Tama Road had bridges. Like I said, Donald Street was added in September of 2025, and that was through a large change order for $75,000. You approved that in September of last year, and a lot of that work was to get done in preparation for our resurfacing project that we're doing right now. And there were 3 other smaller change orders for about $8,200. Just going real quickly through some of the photos of the work. Here was some deck work there was deck spalling, starting to see some deterioration on the surface of our decks. And so a contractor comes in, once we've identified the areas, Porter came in and cut that out neatly, and then they are placing patching in there. Which is what you can see here on this photo. They're doing the repairs on the Union Road Bridge, and you can see down here in the middle photo, this was doing some of that concrete repair on this barrier rail. You can see this is a different type of barrier rail than is seen on most of the other bridges in the contract. This is what was found on Canfield Road. Again, cutting away that underside, exposing that rebar, getting all the pour, the feeling concrete off of the rebar so that new concrete can adhere to the deck itself. And here is some green steel that was placed. And then pouring it, same situation on Tama Road. You can see the contractor set up formwork in this photo. Moving on to Geyser Road, again, very similar work. This was some of the repairs on the top of the deck, and this is some of this work was just completed in the last several months during the Geyser Road closure. Here's some of the repairs being done at the expansion joint, for example. You can see the contractor, again, repairing that underside of the deck there. Moving on, the last bridge would be the Donald Street Bridge. And if you recall, we had some of these same photos to show you last September when you approved this large change order. This bridge, the Donald Street Bridge, does not have concrete approaches. Most of our bridges on our paved road system have a 40-foot, for example, a 40-foot approach slab on each side of the bridge. This bridge, for whatever reason, just has not had that. So this east end of it was getting to be very spalling. You can see the edge here. We wanted something nicer, something longer lasting as we paved into Donald Street this current year. So that was repaired. Some gutter The curb and the gutter was repaired here in the lower slide. And we also had some work done on the barrier rail, the guardrail. In fact, this was the majority of that contract. Change order was to repair the barrier rail to bring it up to standards. And so we replaced this end post as well as this would be the end section of the guardrail. So that is now brought up to standards. Just some final numbers, the final contract cost was approximately almost $315,000. This is a 23% overrun for us, which is pretty unusual for us, where this comes from the change orders as well as quantity overruns doing the work. They did finish in 75 days collectively between all the sites. No liquidated damages were assessed. We do feel it was completed in substantial conformance with the project plans and specifications. I would recommend your acceptance and we'd be allowed to release the retainage and close the project out. Can I answer any questions?
Good project.
Thank you.
We've got completed. Thank you. No other questions? This is a resolution. Please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item E, resolution to accept the April 25th, 2026 notice of termination from the Blackhawk County Solid Waste Management Commission consenting to termination of the May 1, 1990 Human Resources and Payroll Services Agreement with the Solid Waste Commission with an effective date of termination of May 26, 2026, and authorizing the board chair to sign a letter notifying the Solid Waste Commission of this action.
So moved.
Second.
John, did you want to, haven't worn you out yet, do you want to speak to this?
Poor guy.
Just of how things are going, what's been done, whatever.
As we are moving forward, we've already shifted all of our payroll off of the county. We're establishing our own payroll system. We're really moving forward. Everything's all prepped for us to take over July 1st.
This was just kind of the formal piece to closing this out.
Correct. Nice little way to kind of tighten up that bow.
Any questions for John? No? All right, thanks very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yes. It's a resolution, please answer your name is called.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Item F, resolution that the taxes due and payable of the submitted persons as indicated, including special assessments and rates or changes, including interest, fees, and costs, in accordance with the provision of 427.9 of the Code of Iowa, be suspended, and that the future property taxes on property owned by the persons will be suspended for such time as the persons remain the owners of the parcels and during the period that persons receive assistance as described in 427.9 of the Code of Iowa.
So moved.
Second.
Can I ask any questions, or should have been addressed earlier? I think they were just on properties that typically they submit for, this is a formal action. Please answer as your name is called.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Leyland.
Yes. Moving on to item H, this is a hearing and bid opening on the proposed fiscal year 27 seal coating project. A motion to receive and place on file proof of publication, May 9th, 2026, notice of public hearing.
So moved. Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion carries. Item 2, motion to close the hearing after oral and written comments are received.
So moved.
Second.
Any written comments?
No written comments.
Thank you. Whenever you're ready.
Need the motion if it's received.
I guess it's to be received and opened. We can certainly do that. I was gonna say close the hearing, but I was gonna say we should. Want to close before we do the bids received?
That's the order of operation of the agenda, so.
We'll follow it. All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
Who made the motion? To close?
I had Justin make the motion.
And I did
Right.
second.
Okay.
And second, yeah.
Okay. You were looking up, I thought.
Bids to be received. Opened and read. Thank you.
Okay, we'll do the, you want to do the electronic bids first? Okay, the first bid is from Farner Asphalt Sealers LLC. You can see the bid there, $284,300. Second bid from Blacktop Service Company, excuse me. The bid is $164,196. And those two companies did submit the bid bond per the order of being able to bid electronically. Okay. Prairie Road Builders is our third bid. They have submitted the bid bond. Their bid is $195,151.04. 195,151.04. Okay, the fourth bid, Staybill Construction Company, Harlan, Iowa, they have submitted the bid bond. And the bid is $191,448.16. 191,448.16. And did you want the engineer's estimate?
Yes.
$206,492.
Thanks, Kathy. That's it. All right, good. Moving on to the motion that the Board of Supervisors review and place on file the bids to allow time to review the bids as recommended by Catherine Nicholas, County Engineer.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you, Kathy and Ryan. Item 10, discussion of possible board action on contract language for Gross Cedar Valley contract. Well, the details of it are it's kind of coming due, or it's kind of towards that point now. Right?
Yes, they sent me a copy of what prompted this again partly is that they sent an invoice dated February 12th that I just got May 11th. But, the board did approve to allocate 25,000 of them for this fiscal year. So I would like to get that processed and paid before the end of June. If you remember, back when the conversation occurred during budget time, there was talk about having a work session, but we just hadn't gotten to that point yet, so there's a short time frame, I guess I would say, for them, for whatever you're going to ask them to do for this fiscal year, there isn't much time to do that and get it done by June 30. You also approved an allocation for the 27 budget, not a contract amount, but we should take that up soon as well.
So what are we working through now then? This is for the smaller amount, right?
Yes, and the shorter time period. So the time period ending June of
Yeah.
2026 is what we need to move forward with now. You have obviously a little more time to consider what you'd like to have in the agreement for fiscal 27.
Yeah.
I do have the 25 contract if you're interested in looking at what we said the scope was for that one. We can do that. I don't know if you need to, want to, but we can if you wish to.
I guess my question is the scope the same?
I would presume that for, considering it took us a good chunk of time to get to the FY 26, if we can if we can square up the FY 27 language to say what we're looking for, that seems like it would make the most sense. Granted,
Is there,
Al, do you want to,
I was gonna say, when you're looking for scope, I guess I was just trying to think about what you meant with that.
because it says responsibilities rather than.
Okay, good.
I was looking for that paragraph myself.
I'm not seeing it.
I've got it on the board now. It should be right on, I think that's right on page 1, yeah.
So what was your question again, or comment again, was really like squaring this up, but then we have more time to decide what we want in the 27, or take the time to decide what we want in the 27, but we do need to square this one too.
yeah, I'd like to get to a point where we just go into 27 with the contract language that we want, not sort of waiting till
Oh,
we
no.
get too.
Yeah, I think that's what, yeah, I'm assuming almost all of us would wanna do it, just that 26 was done a little bit differently, and so we did it late in the process and had it.
In the past
So
few
that this is
years,
the contract.
they received awards through the community services funding, and since you didn't, we didn't finish that process till mid-year, that's what kind of has us a little bit,
Yeah, that's
out of
right.
step,
We did
I
change
guess.
this one, yes, differently,
yeah.
this year.
So that's why you didn't have a contract that you put in place months ago.
Kind of figured. So, doing something, I guess it would have to be something doable, but we're looking at, if we're looking at doing something in a 26 contract, something we could ask them to do. In my thought, it was really just, we needed to probably ask them to come and make a report. I mean, I think they do it for the cities.
That's item 11,
What?
and that's item 11 in the other one about,
Oh, that we can anytime do it. I just meant-
performance review.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I must say, I like the idea Justin proposed, though. I do like helping other businesses, be partners with Grove Cedar Valley. That was, I thought, a good idea, but I just thought too, just an opportunity for others that you would hope then they would see the value once they've had something like that, receive something like that, then to continue for their businesses. I just like that idea.
I do know they've got some version of that now. But I do know that it was a difficult process for them to it was an easy concept and a difficult thing to implement of how do you decide which business is getting the sponsorship? I mean, there's a whole thing there, and
I agree. I mean, I don't know what theirs was or
Yeah.
have any idea what that was, but I just thought it did, if we were to decide to do that and they were willing to allow us to do it, because they maybe wouldn't be, but if they were, that would probably mean a process for us somewhat to do what we're asking from others when they submit applications, something that we have to expect from them before we submit their names or whatever.
I'm trying
I don't
to
know
find
what your
it.
thoughts were, maybe you thought this through more than I, but it was just really thinking of them and us coming together on some kind of a process in place to decide what businesses or what size or if anybody.
I don't think, what's the dollar amount? Is it 50
$25,000 for 26, and
for 27 though?
I think
30.
30?
It might be, yeah.
Okay, and then how's their membership tiers breakdown? Because I know she said they had 4, and it was at the minimum $500 for up to 2,000, 5,000 plus. My thoughts were initially no, obviously, but if we must, then whatever sponsor, whatever that lowest tier rating membership would be, as far as applications would go.
It's done by employment, isn't it? It used to be, but kind of the membership was like you paid like I'm thinking like a John Deere's membership is much different than
Correct.
a small business.
Yeah, it's based on the number of
So it's
employees.
more number of employees.
That sounds right.
So, but I don't
Well,
remember.
so, Mike, can I name a local business that I went to recently, or does that make things messy? As an example of, I went here and I talked with this locally owned business restaurant about the prospect of, their interest level in becoming part of this. And they'd never heard of the organization.
I don't think anything prevents you from doing that. Whether that's good judgment is up to you, but
Okay.
but then there's certainly nothing that prevents you from doing it, no rule or anything.
Okay, well, at any rate. But anyway, so I gave them the information to contact them, and they were pretty interested in learning. I don't know how we would go about posting. I guess will this be similar to like an RFP, but it's not an RFP, but some kind of posting,
Like an
advertising.
application.
Yeah, something just in the paper or whatever, like, I don't know. All I want is the small, with the economy the way it is, and small businesses suffering, I want them to have an opportunity to be marketed, have events take place there, or whatever else Grove Cedar Valley does to help get their name and brand out there so they can get some kind of economic stimulus in their organization.
I think if we ask Katie, right, like, their group, what is that sponsor, what's that mechanism look like now? And if that sort of work for our investor level with sort of how they're structured, you know. I think the thought that I had was, we've got, and I've got some notes written that I think they were just jotted. I'm pretty sure these were jotted from their proposal. I might also have a couple in here that were just ideas and I didn't differentiate, so. But a few of those, the 60 annual business retention and expansion visits, I know that was a piece that was in their proposal. The 36 attraction leads and site engagements. One of the pieces that I was really interested in was to explore, they've got a new Cedar Valley Young Professionals group, and I think working with Amanda in getting some of our young county employees engaged in that CVYP program, because there is real benefit on that networking side for those young professionals to start to establish relationships, yes, in the courthouse, but also outside of the courthouse into the community. I think it helps sort of facilitate some additional engagements there. The other piece that I'd love to see us get to a point, I'm not 100% sure, I know this was not in their proposal, but was to specify assist Black Hawk County with identifying targeted industry sectors and provide policy and ordinance consulting support for initiatives. One that's hot right now is data centers. So that we get to this point where maybe the county can be, strike a little bit more agreement. I remember jotting that note right after Lynn County had their issue where there was a data center wanted to move in, and then a community within the county said, well, we won't be as restrictive on some of the zoning ordinances, and so of course the company went to the least restrictive. I think there might be an opportunity here, and Grove Cedar Valley would be useful in understanding. We don't have a planning department. We have a contract with the planning department, but it's a little different than having full-on economic development professionals within our payroll. Having them there to help sort of guide that conversation, I think would be a useful piece. Yes, we could do it on our own, but I think there would be value in having a non-governmental entity at the table helping strike a policy and with a goal of coordinating support countywide with Waterloo City Council, Cedar Falls City Council, and just sort of getting everybody on the same page. So to me, that seems a little bit more in keeping with the agreement to really focus it on the professional services. And I think, yes, if we could have a conversation with them on what their sponsored membership I forget, there's a term that they've used, I've heard it once or twice. But what that maybe could look like, it's probably worth a conversation, but, I don't know if they're not open to it for one reason or another. I think there's still plenty of meat, that we can.
Well, I think the county, to me, though, still, we're responsible for our own policy. And at the table, I think that's important. And I think the groups working together, because I think you have a better understanding and appreciation than other perspectives. I think as far as them, like I say, just more from conversation, not from them telling us what we should have as policies. Maybe things to consider, which maybe if they thought we should be changing, I'd expect them now, to do the same thing, but yes.
But I think it's a more formalized setting
We
where
could do
it's,
that,
you know, we're asking for advice, we're asking for input and crafting a policy that we would all hopefully, enter into.
Because I think the data centers is a good example of how that's kind of not gone the way people have thought.
Mm-hmm.
In either community maybe, and now everybody's up in arms and criticizing a little bit, and maybe better roundtable discussions or more of it than helpful.
Yeah, I think Lynn County is especially a good example of how not having that conversation as a collective gets you in this spot where you've got communities and counties and everybody sort of.
At least you know where you're at, if you're on opposing sides
Correct.
or together or whatever, instead of like going out. Now it's immediate.
So there's folks.
I don't know, I mean,
Go ahead.
I'm not really interested. I don't really want to engage them on, I mean, I want to engage them, but not have us pay them, for working on policies. Specifically, if we're talking about data center policy, because it's, to me, it's pretty clear there's only one direction to go on that right now, and that's, you know, that's a moratorium on them until we've just got better regulations in place at higher levels than we control. But I do like the idea of getting more of our employees to engage in the networking events. I think that's a really good one. But I'd like to, and to Justin's point, I'd like to see what their package would already look like if we did do kind of the sponsorship as a part of this as well.
Sponsorship. Oh, for others, the businesses, okay. Yeah, and I do hear what Chris is saying too, in the sense that were we not, or if we ever were not able to, I mean, this is the Gross Cedar Valley is a business organization. It's for the support of businesses. I mean, not that we don't supply support for that as well, but I just meant it is memberships by businesses, and it is to their benefit and advantage, whether it's helping them grow, whether it's helping them promote their businesses, whatever it is. Like I said, we're kind of, to me, the support system that they're asking additional funding for, but I don't think that, to me, it's offensive to have to pay a membership to be at a table with someone. And to think that we wouldn't be considered, or that we wouldn't consider others as well sometimes when you're talking policy and making decisions and wanting input and wanting to know both sides or multiple sides on where things are at. I wouldn't want that to be why we're here. I would think I'd want that for the relationship of us as a county being an important member in this community, as a government entity as much as a city. Obviously, we don't have some of the same needs because we don't have the growth, the business growth and that type of thing in our rural areas, but that we still are here for overall consideration, discussion. Projects like data centers go out in counties. When things start going not in the cities, then people look to the county, and others have done similar, and it just helps when everybody is at the table and having those conversations, and not because you are a member. So that part I'd be a little bit.
Well, see, I think when a part that's missing in this yet is those that are around. Gross Cedar Valley was a combination of both Cedar Falls and Florida Chambers joining together.
Not initially. Gross Cedar Valley, they merged. Gross Cedar Valley back in '84 when that started. Like I said, they were economic development for years before they merged, but then they worked to merge the two chambers.
But they are now part of the chamber. process. So if a business wants to be part of their Chamber of Commerce in that area, that is Gross Cedar Valley.
Yeah.
So there's a part there that people lose in that process, but knowing some other developments that's happened in other counties here in Iowa, I asked Cedar Valley to give me some input and what would be some recommendations what this other county did. So knowing that our ordinances need to be updated and renewed, I feel that that's something that the county has a benefit of receiving from being part of being an investor, I guess is the way they termed it. You're an investor in the Cedar Valley chain.
But who would do that policy review?
Well, that's gonna be,
Because it would be for us,
it'd be for us, for the county, but they also have the ability to connect with other areas for, like you talked about Lincoln. Well, there's other developments, other business types out there that they also have in to finding out information. We would probably have more of a harder time getting that information.
Yeah,
So
when I think of the
there's a
policy
resource.
assistance, it is more of a singular conduit to the business community to have a voice in our policy creation, right? Yes, we can all individually ask folks, and we can, right, but there is a solidified business community and you know, there's a chamber, there's an entity there who has taken up that challenge. And so, you know, having some formalized agreement where a part of their deliverables for a contract are to be available for those sorts of discussions. So that way it's not just a favor to say, hey, can you come and talk, but there's a level of expectation that when we start to have those conversations, that there's an expectation that they're here, that they're engaged, and at least providing input. Maybe not direction, but I think it's the input part that's
Do the cities
valuable.
utilize that now?
I don't know.
I don't know.
Again, they also have planning,
Planning and zoning folks.
they have planning
But we do
development
too.
folks,
Yeah.
right? And
But we have to pay for that because we don't have enough of that kind of development to have a staff person.
Correct.
Yeah, so I know it's different from especially a Grove Cedar Valley organization that's about tax base, job creation, what they can do to help in that sense. Rural areas typically haven't been where they've gone. I mean,
solar or wind, this predates me, but either solar or wind, there was
What's in this project, that one, yeah.
That-
Yes.
felt like there was maybe some movement, and then there was some issues with some ordinances and some of our internal our policies, and they ended up going to a different county. Am I misremembering what I, or misunderstood?
Yeah,
Am I misremembering what I misunderstood, or?
It passed, it moved forward, was, it you know, passed our zoning and it passed our Board of Adjustments. But then it was challenged in the courts and we were winning all the appeals, but the company, it had drawn on long enough that the technology in the original application had changed enough that they were gonna have to start over. So instead of starting over in Blackhawk County, that project went to Delaware County.
Gotcha. Thank you.
They couldn't last as long as it.
Yeah.
Well, I just think, like I said, as far as talking to what's good in the contract, I mean, how our relationship and stuff goes from there is all up to us and how we work through that. But I was gonna say, some of the things that I think that just typically they answer when they do, I don't know how often they meet with the cities, but I said, I know they have to give a report for those, and I just thought we could actually, you could ask for it as often as you wanted, I suppose, quarterly or semi-annually, not for this one maybe, but for the future ones. And and it was much like they said, the number of businesses assisted, the number of jobs created, the number of site selector leads that were generated, the number of leads from the state that they followed up on, number of retention visits completed, number of grant applications submitted on behalf of the county and those types of things. So there are things or measurables, if that's what we want to put in a contract. The next one probably, like I said, now we're kind of coming in at the last month of 26 and saying like, show, and I guess I don't like that idea of saying, now show us something that you did that we would like to see now, because I'm sure they could find something, but it's not what we contracted for. So
Yeah, I mean, I think they perform. I think they performed. I don't know. I thought I saw Katie on earlier, but I don't know if she stayed on.
well, they could say, I'm sure much like this contract stated before, but this is the opportunity for us to change for 27, I guess, and put in things that really, like you said, the businesses and that type of thing. Were you thinking just a certain number? I guess we don't have to decide that today, but I just meant for 27, we need to get going on it so that you have a year to do what we want.
Yeah, because number 3 on your responsibilities in exchange for payment by the county, the contractor shall. And it's got the four items listed. There's 3 under 1 in particular.
On which one, item 2 you said?
Yeah, responsibilities, it's item 3, general service agreement. Yep.
You know, I'm not real big on the numbers, meaning how many visits. I wanna know what the visit consists of and how they're benefiting from it. What does the visit do for them? So I don't care if you do 10 visits, if you're spending quality time and then that business is actually seeing a positive benefit from it.
Yeah.
Versus 95 visits and you're in for 10 minutes just to say hi.
Nice.
You know, I don't see value in that.
No, I don't know that just call in and step in the door kind of a thing too. I just meant, I remember visits I used to go on, because that is what I did. And you had good discussions and that's where you worked together on if they had projects and what were their plans and what was gonna be coming up and things that you could be doing for them in the future, whether it was workforce grants or whether it's state grants or whether it's working with the city of Waterloo or Cedar Falls on a site or something like that, and just kind of keeping in front of them and seeing what you could do, kind of. It was somewhat relationship done, but it was just like, how can we help you grow, change, what's your problems? We had some issues sometimes with the contractors, not the contractors, but the inspectors and different issues that we had, and so we called meetings then and got everybody together and said these problems aren't working for some of our businesses, and what do we need to do to help with this or help you and make them aware of it, and everybody kind of came up with some solutions and things like that, so that there are things. So it wasn't just that. Now what they do, I don't know, and haven't followed up with anybody lately, but it's still what the visit means or what is it they're doing is why I was looking at numbers and measurables so you knew what people were doing and following up on.
Yeah, I would, it'd be great if we could just get direct access to the people and be able to have contact with them, especially if we were to sponsor business, so that way we actually know what's going on. Like, it's great to get department head reports. Sometimes it's also great to hear from the people underneath and get their perspective too. And so, if we pay an organization X number of dollars and then the representative of the organization comes and tells us something, I would expect that it would be the same message would be consistent from those underneath who are receiving the service, but that's not always the case. In every form and type of organization, I believe that to be true. So it'd be nice just for complete transparency and even if we don't have, okay, they come to report quarterly, semi-annually, in a closed session just so or something, if the confidentiality is a worry.
I will say, and I don't think we can have a board meeting that's closed session for those reasons.
Okay.
So that would be something that we probably couldn't do, but.
Justin, I'd recommend that you get a visit with Katie and Lisa and visit with them over there. You get more detail from them that way. That's how I've gotten the information in the past, know things where I feel comfortable in investing with them. But I'm just recommend that if you haven't been able to do that now.
Yeah, if they can provide the information.
They should be able to provide anything that's been either completed, recently completed. I know that any of the projects I would work on, I kept confidentiality with the company until I always said it was their call on making it public, or unless it was something I did, like submitted an application for funding for them or whatever. At that point in time, then it was something that you were doing for them, and it was kind of out there. But as far as just working, like having meetings and saying we're working on a project together, there were, it was kind of a confidentiality level, at what point you could release that information. That's where I think some of the information you're probably asking, they're gonna be very reluctant, if at all, kind of protection of that until the point where it's known. But after it's certainly known who they are, and they should have lists of who those projects are they've assisted, then you can follow up with any of those or have other conversations and things too that might help to verify what was done or how much, and not just have it from one side, from the Grove Cedar Valley people saying, we did it. Somebody asked me on Facebook, on one of the posts, when they were, name one job or name one company I'd assisted with my existing business. And I thought, it's not the position I take, because it's the company's business, the company did it and I enjoyed it, I just wanted to help where I could. So I was a little more reluctant in that, but I thought they're all manufacturers that are here, were the most of the ones I did, and they're still here today, so I felt great helping, doing what we could, and that was part of my job. But it was like, still, they were the ones creating the jobs, they were the ones creating the tax base, not me. It was just helping.
Some of the recruitment side, I don't know if it was like this when you were there, but it's heavy NDAs, heavy, you can get in a sling pretty quick.
You don't really
Speaking
names
too
publicly
public,
because it's
yeah.
too competitive and you may lose your.
Yeah.
Well, even if not disclosing anything publicly, I get it, and I'm totally okay with that. I just think if we're paying in, if you're getting the government dollars, then maybe we sign something, like, okay, I won't speak about this, but we need to know. And I don't know how that gets worked out, and if not, I'm just not comfortable doing it.
Well, maybe a work session. I thought in this last 30 days, we're still putting together a contract and paying them to get this turnaround in 26. We could still ask them to come
Yeah, I
in the
think
next
a work
couple weeks.
session, further explanation of BREs and what
Oh,
those
we-
really
yeah,
take.
yeah.
And, what all goes into, because it's
And
not.
the amount of business retention.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
Uh,
What that is and what we're talking about with this next contract and that type of thing too. But then they could also report on kind of this year end on some of the statistics, and then more, like I say, more question and answer about what they're telling us that there is about a visit or what they're doing. I don't know.
Yeah, what are some of, sort of industry practices when it comes to relaying information that you've either signed an NDA on or non-disclosure agreements, or even if you haven't had to sign one of those, if there are just some best practices, industry standards of how do you inform elected officials and contributors into the organization without necessarily disclosing too much and putting folks at either developments at risk, or put themselves at risk. So.
Yeah. So, does that sound like something we want to do, is try to have them here in the next couple of weeks, or in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I think
Just
that makes
to
sense.
try to do, call into the work session or something like that can be helpful, and because I know they're probably eager to get this too, since it's really kind of for the year, but still like going forward, what we expect and what we talked about.
So do we mirror the FY26 after, is that you're suggesting that?
I don't know, what are your thoughts?
That's what I thought. I was asking Michelle the other day.
That it would change, wouldn't change much?
If we mirrored FY26
FY25.
off of 25,
25.
Yeah.
yep. So if we did that as one action item and a work session on the FY27, that gets some things set and keeps the ball rolling on.
You got that cut, right?
What?
The 25.
No.
I think she said it.
Sent
I was
it
looking
out.
at it, so-
Because otherwise I would.
That's what I was looking for earlier.
Oh, come on.
May
I know.
3rd, it was May 13th, so it's been a little bit that I
Okay.
sent it to you.
All that time's passed. Thanks, Michelle.
It's like last year at this point for me.
Yeah. Yeah, we've got a month left.
Here, I'll forward it to you too, just.
I can send it, I've got it right here.
No, I'm almost
Yeah,
there.
once you got the date, probably.
Yeah, that helps. Here it is.
So we could, yeah, if we did that, then we would have a update for them on 26. And then talk about some discussion.
I'll try to meet with them before then.
And then if that, yeah. Might have
That
more.
would be helpful.
Do you wanna do that in 2 weeks?
Well, let's see, next week is voting day.
So do we need to do something today then, just approve for the 26? So Michelle can move forward with it?
We did have discussion, possible board action, so we could. What, do you wanna meet first? You wanna meet with them first? I don't care.
I don't know when they'll be available,
Oh.
and so I'm fine going forward, whatever you guys want to today to keep the ball rolling. Cause that might be 3 weeks from now before we get something.
What I was thinking, Just, is let's do the 26th, because
Yeah.
we're in a time crunch, and then have them come in, and then we can see if we need to do anything different for the
And we can still
27th.
ask for the update for 26, because we're so relevant for us from June 30, but then talk about the discussion of how we wanna go forward, or what we like. All right. Does that work for you too, Chris? Okay,
Yes, that works.
all right. So, I'll make a motion for the 26th to go forward.
So moved.
Second.
Do you wanna make that subject to legal review, or are we assuming it's mirrors
Basing off of
25, we're
25,
close enough?
that's already
Okay.
been through.
Yeah, except the amounts and the contact person, I think are about the only thing that changed. It would be Katie.
And can I say something just before we
Yeah.
vote on anything, cause I know my vote's gonna probably throw people off. I just don't know enough about that, I didn't get a lot of my reservations resolved last time, and so, which is why I've been, taking the position I have, with this particular contract, so. To clarify, I'm fine moving forward, but just so my vote doesn't come out as a surprise to anybody.
No, and I
That
know
makes
I had
sense.
problems with it when we went for it, when it did, it kind of came up as it did, a little bit surprising, I guess, when we asked them to delay it a little bit for a couple of weeks and couldn't do that even, so, yes, but I'll go ahead for the 26th as the contract we've got on the ways, but I guess we can do resolution, please answer as your name is called.
Kurttenbach? Yes.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
No,
Paul,
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes. Thank you. All right, any reports or information from the board? No?
none for me.
All right, closed session it is. Item 12, this is a resolution to proceed into closed session for discussion of strategy with counsel in matters that are presently in litigation or where litigation is imminent, where its disclosure would be prejudiced or disadvantage the position of the government body in the litigation pursuant to Iowa Code 21.5C. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Please answer as your name is called.
Schwartz,
Yes.
Grant,
Yes.
Paul,
Yes.
Kurttenbach,
Yes.
Whalen.
Yes. All right. Item B, motion to adjourn the Board of Supervisors meeting in closed session.
So moved. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I was just looking in case I didn't hear you go either way. So,
I said aye.
it's okay, okay.
Oh, yes, I did.
All
I thought
right.
I did.
Item number 13, meeting to be adjourned. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Meeting is, all in favor, say aye.
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 Meeting is adjourned. Thank you. Oh, yeah. Are you gonna do a nay?
No.